Record. Yeah. Nice. We already have 2 people join us. Okay, Rodrigo. Hello, everyone. I see we have Sarah, of course. Sarah is here. Nice, Sarah. Hello from Canada, Sarah. Nice. People still join us, so we're gonna start our webinar in a few minutes. If you like, you can grab a cup of coffee or water, and we will wait for everyone to get the link and everything. So before we start, while we wait for everyone, let's get to know each other a little better. So you can use the chat if you like to tell us your name, company, city, and also your plans for the weekend. I can go first. So I am Juliana. I am from Brazil. I'm living in Curitiba, and I'm community manager at Pipefy, and I'm planning to watch the 9 Perfect Strangers. It's a new TV show that I want to see, and I've already read the book, so I'm very excited to watch it. So Sarah is telling us it's a hot day in Canada. It's a hot day even in Curitiba, Sarah. So it's crazy times we are living today, and looking forward to learning about some cool Pipefy things. Thanks, Sarah, for always being here for community. We still have people joining. So tell me, guys, tell me more about the plans that you have for a weekend. Sarah probably watched some football. Nice, Sarah. Sarah is already a Brazilian, I guess. We talk a lot and she's already a Brazilian. She likes football. She knows speak a little bit of Portuguese, right, Sarah? Great, guys. We have more people join. We'll wait a few minutes and then we can start. All right, nice. So tell me, Camila and Breno, and even Scott, tell me your plans for the weekend. And Bernardo as well, if Bernardo is here with us.
Yeah, I've got no plans actually, just hanging around in my place and just watching some Netflix series and movies as well. So no plans because we don't we cannot go outside to play soccer or do something like this. So I'm gonna just stay at home and enjoy my place.
Thanks for Netflix, right?
Yeah.
And you, Camila, what is your plan for the weekend?
Basically the same of Breno. I'm gonna stay at home and safe and watch some Netflix, update my series.
Great. Bernardo, if you want to share with us and
Scott, go ahead, man.
Oh, sure, man. My weekends are pretty scheduled in that I get outside as much as possible. So I like to hike. There's a couple of places I do that. I get my workouts in on Saturday and Sunday. And then most of the time it's just getting ready for another work week. I hate to say, but it's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, on my side, I'm planning to go to the beach and stay there for a few days and just feel the breeze a little bit and just chill out and forget about the week stress and recharge.
Nice.
I'm a little jealous right now, but all right. Jealous of you, Bert. So let's start. People still join, but I believe we can start. So today we have Scott with us from Nutracap Labs, and he's going to tell us how the company is using Pipefy to manage its CVRO process with our platform. So today I have the honor of having with me Breno, Camila, and Bernardo. If you want to introduce yourself, guys, feel free.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Camila, and I'm from the customer success team of Pipefy. And today I also have the honor to present one of my customers that didn't even finish the implementation. So in a very short period of time, they had already become a master on Pipefy, and I'm really glad of that. And Brenna, I think it's your time to introduce yourself as well.
Absolutely. I'm Breno. I work at customer success team as well, but I'm work at implementing the Pipefy within the customers. So I usually give the support to implement the processes, to train the end users and so on. And I'm really glad to have Scott in here because he's a really nice use case for us. It is really nice to have him here, he here because, you know, he's mastering with our tool. He's mastering while modeling the pipes inside the organization. He's mastering about as well this knowledge about Pipefy itself as a tool. So I'm really glad to have you here, Scott, to show you to show us and to our audience how we are managing those processes, even core processes for you inside Pipefy. So thank you very much.
Yeah, great. I didn't have the time to add you, Bear, but you are more than welcome to introduce yourself.
Let's do it. So hi team, my name is Bernardo Rosa. I'm part of the CS team together with Camila and Breno. I'm more focused on expansions. So everything related to bring more Pipefy's benefits to more people within not only Nutracap, but also Camila's portfolio of clients. So I'm really excited to see this presentation here. Another great use case of Pipefy being a core solution within companies. And yeah, excited for the presentation. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Tim. And now, Scott, the stage is yours. Thank you again for being here.
All right, thank you. Let me see if I can start sharing my screen.
I believe you can, yeah, you can share your screen already.
Okay, can you see my presentation now?
Yes, we can
Yes,
see
Scott.
it.
Okay, very good. So this is the Pipefy implementation experience, and my name is Scott Olsen. I'm the Director of Training for Nutracap Labs. Okay, these are the topics we're going to cover today. So I'll give a brief introduction of myself. I'll give you a Nutracap Labs overview. Then we'll take a look at the departments, our current software, look at our implementation, and then we'll look at a slide that kind of covers the timeline with the number of pipes that we have and the cards that we've used or created so far. Then we'll take a look at the databases I've created, and then we'll look at the Nutracap pipes. We'll actually go into our pipes and I'll showcase one of those, I think our sample lab. And then I have a slide for lessons learned, and then we can open it up for any questions that you might have. So first of all, my name is Scott Olsen, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, which is where I am now, and that's in the United States. I've been in corporate training for about 25 years. In the last 15 years, I've worked at Ricoh USA. That's an electronic manufacturing company out of Japan. I've worked for Citigroup and WellCare Health Plans. My core background as far as skill sets is basically around training and instructional design, project management, process management, e-learning, and videography. And I've been at Nutracap for 1 year. Okay, and this slide is an overview of Nutracap. So Nutracap Labs is a manufacturer of nutraceuticals and dietary supplements, and we've been growing a skincare products line as well. We specialize in encapsulation manufacturing, sports nutrition and raw health powders, product formulation, brand design, and distribution. So we are considered a startup company. We have roughly 240 employees now. We've been in business for about 5 years, and you can find more information about us at nutracapusa.com. Okay, on this slide, I just wanted to give everyone kind of a high-level view of the structure here, and it's very common, actually. So, you know, we have an accounting department, we have administration, human resources, sales, we have a maintenance department, information technology department, training, and kind of more on the manufacturer and production side, we have a sample lab, a raw materials warehouse, manufacturing. We have a point of sale or pack rabbit and a distribution location, as well as a cosmetics location. So one thing kind of interesting about our setup, and it is due mostly to the rapid growth that we've experienced, is we have multiple locations, 5 now, that are all within about 4 miles of each other. So, you know, the visibility and the communication was a little bit impaired just by the location structure that we had set up. But Pipefy has done a really good job with helping us get a lot of our processes in more of a visible, transparent format. Our basic kind of software hardware setup is as it shows here. So we're a Google-based company. We utilize Gmail and Google Sheets primarily before Pipefy for all of our processes and communications. We use a lot of Gmail chat and a lot of text, just a lot of regular phone text to communicate with each other. Of course, we use Google Calendar and Google Drive extensively. The Google Drive primarily to host all the Google Sheets and our SOPs and everything like that. We run Microsoft primarily, so Windows is an operating system, and the Microsoft Office suite. Some other software that we run is a software package called MySys. It's a manufacturing software program. And then some more familiar ones, QuickBooks Online, Salesforce, and Slack. We currently have about 70 laptops and desktops, more laptops and desktops, of course. And with Pipefy now on board, we've been using more tablets. So we're up to about 15 tablets now. And I suspect we'll be adding to that more. One of the improvements that we have going on right now is actually to our network to help support the tablets, because 4 of our facilities are more warehouse type facilities with office space in them. So getting a stronger Wi-Fi signal is important for us. Okay, this slide covers implementation. So these are basically the stages that we followed to implement our pipes. So, you know, the first stage was to identify the process and the SMEs, the subject matter experts that had the knowledge of that process. We utilized the Pipefy design document. It was a little bit difficult to use at first, but once we understood, you know, how it worked and then how it transferred, that became a main document for us, and we're still using that today, even on pipes that we develop in-house. And that leads us to the next bullet. So the development was either done by Pipefy or we would do them in-house. So of course, the more complicated pipes, we would gladly let Pipefy get those started. And some of the more simple ones we did in-house. Basically, once we received a pipe and thought it was fairly dialed in, we'd run a pilot. So we would pick a few users and we would run it for about a week. And depending on how that went, we would apply feedback and edits, or we would receive feedback and apply edits as we moved through the development pilot phase. And then we would launch it. So in my previous experience, we wouldn't launch software so quickly, but in this case, we did. And to my surprise, it actually worked really well. And you'll see an example of that on the next slide. But so it's basically a rapid development implementation schedule that we followed, and it worked. So I'm happy to report that. After the launch, of course, we received more feedback and apply the edits. Okay, let's move forward. So this is basically a timeline of our implementation of Pipefy. It all started on 5/7 when I received an email from my boss, Enrique. I'm not sure if he's on the call or not today, but in May, I received an email from him, and he had a list of different workflow application vendors. I believe there was about 8 on the list, and he requested that I set up demos for each of these and go through the demos. And so we did. He and I did together. Took us about a week and a half, I think, to demo all the different vendors and their software. And I believe we ended up with 3, Pipefy being one of them. And we chose Pipefy fairly quickly after working with them. You know, we made a list of pros and cons and chose Pipefy, and I'm glad we did. Last night, actually, I was trying to put some of these dates together. So I went to my inbox, and Brino, we had our first meeting, I believe, on May 26th. I believe around the 1st of June, I watched all the training videos that you suggested, and I completed the training program. I would highly recommend anyone do that before getting into the pipes, but I took the suggestion from Brino and followed it. And I was glad I did that too. But so now you're going to see this rapid development of pipes that were created. So around 618, we had 11 active pipes, and most of these pipes were small scale pipes. Some of them were ones I could do house. I recall we started with an IT help desk type pipe. So, you know, that was a fairly simple process to follow. I believe it only had 3 phases, but starting off like, starting small like that helped us, you know, get some of the basics down as far as the development. And I think it helped, you know, starting to build a relationship with Brino and the other support people at Pipefy. About this time, we started sending over some of the larger production outlines over to Pipefy for them to develop. So you can see as the timeline progresses, you can see at 625, so on June 25th, we had 15 pipes going, and we had 188 cards created. Most of these pipes still at this point were for support processes mostly. I believe we had a maintenance request pipe, and then we had several in HR. So human resources is one of the departments that has really benefited from this approach. And I'll cover some of those pipes in a moment too. As we went into July, you can see we had 15 active pipes. Our cards created is going up slowly, so 239. We don't have full users on yet, and we really haven't hit any of the really large production processes yet. But you can see as we continue through July 12th and July 16th and July 25th, our number of cards are increasing, and so are our pipes. Some of the pipes, although they're active now, we're still testing. But then you can see as we move into August, we basically have explosive growth with the number of cards that are being created. And that's because most of these pipes at this point have been turned on, and you know, all users have been put to the pipes to complete their processes. And of course, there were some that were still sending emails. And so there was a little bit of you know, change that had to occur as far as, you know, push back on the emails and use the pipe. But generally, everyone has been able to pick up with using the pipes fairly easy. And I think that's due to part of the success of the implementation of this program. Okay, so next slide is databases. I just wanted to cover this as kind of a suggestion for people that are new in the development of the pipes, is that it was a good idea to start on some of the common databases first. So a department master database, just to have a list of our departments. The employee master database, very important. The IT inventory was one of the first databases we used, and that was just to collect inventory records of all the hardware that we had. The locations database, so, you know, and all of these databases are used in the pipes to pull from. And the reason they're so important is because when a location changes or an employee master database changes or an employee master list changes, you don't have to update all the pipes. If you have the connection, of course, going to the databases, you can just make the change there. The sales employee email database was an interesting one. We had to set that up because we had some sales reps actually have assistants. And so we needed to set it up where it would connect the sales rep to the assistant for email and assignee purposes. In some cases, they do share emails, but we were able to rig a database up to capture that and help with the email templates to get them distributed correctly. And there's a sales stats database down there. All right, so next we'll go to a list of our Nutracap pipes. So these are all the pipes that have been created so far. One thing I wanted to point out here is that we used a abbreviation for departments in the naming convention. So for instance, FIN is finance, HRS is human resources, ITS is IT services, NSK, that's our skincare line. And then we have some operation pipes, and then we have sales pipes. And the sales operations pipes are kind of an admin function for sales, but you can really see how we've used Pipefy just across the board. So the list of departments I showed you earlier on a previous slide is well represented here. And there's really not been a process in any department we were not able to address with a pipe, as long as it's a true process. Some requests have come in where we're looking for a solution in Pipefy, but we determined it's not really a process. So that's been interesting in those one-offs as well. So if there's no questions at this point, I would like to go ahead and check out some of our pipes. Is that good?
Perfect, Scott.
Okay, cool. Let's see if I can do a new share here. Okay, let me know when you can see my pipe screen.
We are seeing your pipes.
Okay, cool. So this is what the pipe screen looks for me. So I'm a member of almost all the pipes. And not only, did we use the prefix to kind of help group the pipes together by department, but we color coded them as well. I still lose them sometimes because there's so many here, but I'm getting better at finding them. I won't mention any employees' names, but some employees have spent a lot of time trying to find the right icon for each of the pipes. But it actually kind of does help a little bit. But the first one I'm going to show you is our sample lab. So through our production process, one of the things that happens is after a brand developer works with a customer, they identify what the base blend of a pre-workout is, for instance. They'll request a sample of it in maybe 3 different flavors. And so we have a lab on site where they build the base blend per spec, and then they flavor it. And as they flavor it, they add the ingredients to it that create the product. And then once the customer signs off on that, then that recipe for that particular product can go into production. And this is something previously that we tracked solely through a Google Sheet. And other than the Google Sheet, all we could really see there is we could see all the information about it, but we had no visibility as to where it was in the process. So the only way to really find out was either to send an email over to one of the admin staff there. They would go in and physically track the sample down to see where it was, or we would look at or we'd have to go over there ourselves and do it. But now, not only can we see all of the products that are currently being created, the samples for them in the sample lab, but we can tell exactly where they are. So first I'll just go over the phases, and there are quite a few. Another thing that a process improvement that's been made here is duplicate entry. So before, the entry of the pipe of the sample request would be done by email. So a form would be filled out. It would be emailed to the admin staff in the sample lab. And then they would have to rekey that information in the Google Sheet and then print out the form to hand it off. Now the brand developer or the salesperson can actually go in and create the card directly. So there's no email now, and the duplicate entry on the Google Sheet doesn't have to happen. We are partially tracking that, to be honest, in the Google Sheet still, but I think we're about ready to be able to leave that. The phases that we have in this pipe are admin review. So they review the request to make sure that all the information is there. If all the information is not there, there's a place to hold the request. When they look at the base blend of ingredients, if there's ingredients missing in our inventory, we identify that up front. And this is helpful too. Before, we would just go ahead and start building the blend, and we would find out we were missing an ingredient while we were in the process of it. And then we would hold it until we were able to get the ingredient to the lab. But now we have visibility of it. If someone's wondering where their sample is, you know, they would already receive an email from a template that it was here, but they could go here and look. Let's move down a little bit. So the base blend, that's where they actually start building the base blend of the recipe for whatever the product is. Then they create the flavor formula. So this is a combination of other ingredients as well to make it flavor to the flavor that is specified by the customer. Sometimes we need to hold for a flavor test. So in this case, the brand developer, the salesperson, is notified that they, because they've requested to taste the sample before it's sent to the customer. And again, this has been a big gain for us as well, because when we move something to hold for flavor tests, the brand developers send an email and they're told, hey, you know, go to the sample lab, we've got a sample for you to taste. So again, another process that's been automated, other than trying to track them down by email or getting up and going over to the part of the building that they work in. Bottling is very important too, and that this is where the sample is actually weighed out, and we send one full sample to the customer, and then we keep a retain on site. So all of that's recorded here in this phase. And then the label, retain, and package phase, that's where labels are actually adhered to the container that the sample is in and the retain is in. And then the next step is to ship it out. And you notice we have a bulk hold for individual and multiple lots here. This was a sticking point for us before, in that you can see we have parent and child cards, and sometimes, most of the time actually, a customer will request maybe 3 flavors of their product. So when it would get to the shipping phase, we had trouble connecting how many requests were in for that particular customer. And sometimes partial shipment would go out. Of course, it would be followed by the rest of the shipment, but not only did it cost us more money for duplicate shipping, but you know, the customer would get confused because they would only get half their order or maybe a third of it. But this way we're able to quantify that we have all of the samples for the one customer request, and we can hold it here until we get them, and then ship them out. So we ship samples out approximately once every day. And just for kind of an interesting note, we usually process between 400 and 600 samples a month in the sample lab. So it's busy, and things stack up pretty fast. You can see here, and this particular pipe has been in production, I think, for 2 or 3 weeks now. And we've done a lot of cards, a lot of samples in them. So we have 272 that have been completed. And so that's a good look at our sample lab pipe in general. Trying to think of what else that we can show you. We basically utilize all the features that we've learned so far. And when I say that, I laugh, because I think there's probably about 60%, that's 60% of Pipefy that we haven't even touched yet. So I'm excited to learn more as we go. But the due dates are very helpful for us. Assignees is a suggestion I would give to anyone, is to go ahead and assign the cards to the people that own them. The attachment feature, the internal card email, all of that is very valuable, and we've come to really depend on it. We really like how we can upload attachments during the course of a process and have all the attachments for that card right here to view. Another function that's really helpful for us is the activities log, because especially because we're working with so many different departments, it's very helpful to come down to determine who did what when. And it's really helped us not only kind of in corrective measures to be able to see where our processes might be broken, but also to just reinforce processes that need to be followed. So that's a sample lab pipe, and this was one of our first ones. And we definitely had help from the beginning for Pipefy on this one. And you know, along the way, there's been some changes. We've made some big edits, and then we've gone back and reversed them, and then tried another way, and it's working great. I want to show you one more pipe, and this will kind of just show you how diverse the usage of the pipes are. We have, for instance, an HR and onboarding pipe that's been very helpful. And these are employees that have been hired, well, we're looking at since July, but we're able to track their pre-arrival before they start, their first day, which is a day of onboarding, their first week, first 30 days, first 60 days, and 90 days. But so we're able to, you know, in each phase, cover information and use checklists to make sure that we're following all the steps consistently. And this is something that we did manually before. And so when you do it manually, there's not always great visibility. And there's been times where I'm trying to figure out, well, where'd the employee go that started, you know, back, you know, 2 weeks ago in manufacturing. I can come here and see what phase they're in. Being I'm the director of training, we have an onboarding program, so I can make sure that they've been following that. But it's just a higher level of transparency and visibility that we haven't had before, and it just works across the board. Here's another good one to show you. So we have a graphics department that creates labels, and they're top notch. These guys are really good. And you can imagine with all the samples that we process that we also create a lot of labels. And it's a fairly complex process in that a lot of what they do has to do with the supplement facts panel that's on the label, on top of all the really complex, cool graphics that they use. But there's a lot of compliance review involved where other departments, like our sales operations department and sales too, actually, review the labels that when they're done, and they're able to go back and forth and get those dialed in. So they're all FDA compliant. Kind of the same scenario here, but one of the gains is that there used to be a form, a PDF form that we would email to the client, and sales would do that. But now sales can send our customer this form. So we utilize the public forum to share, and the customer can come down and request what their request type is, and that starts the ball rolling to the graphics department. When their request hits, it lands here. We have an email template that notifies sales that the customers filled this out, and then it also notifies the manager of the graphics design department. And then they pull them up and start working them through. So they have a ready queue. This is where he assigns it to one of the other graphic designers. This phase shows that it's in progress. Once they put the label together per the customer specs, then they can send it over back to the customer, and we wait for a reply. So we have an automation set up here that when the customer sends an email back, we're notified that the customer's replied. And that's really helpful because in that way we can come back in here, pull up the card, and keep processing it from there. This is where it pulls in other departments. So once the label's finished, the customer likes it, the graphics department likes it, it has to go back to compliance review. There's a lot of technicalities around ingredients and how they're listed and the order that they're listed in. Active ingredients versus non-active, things like that. That's pretty much over my head, actually, but this is where they come together and they review everything that's there. And even in this example, you can see that we have 12 emails that have been sent within the pipe. We have 8 attachments. These are label proofs and supplement panels. And there's been 5 comments going back and forth. So you can see our users have gotten really comfortable with communicating within the cards. And before, this was 12 emails that were in 12 different inboxes, potentially, or maybe 4 different inboxes, but they were spread throughout, you know, maybe a 2-week period. So part of the problem that we would have is when we would go back and try to track customer information or status, it was a matter of searching through your Gmail inbox. And I think anyone that's done that enough knows that that's not always a great, easy way to find information. I mean, it gets you close, but then there's a lot of clicking and opening emails to find the one that you're looking for. But now all we do is locate the card and all the communications are built in. So this has been a really big help for us.
Yeah, this is fantastic, Scott. And thank you for sharing with us your pipes and everything. So great to see that you are using Pipefy just for a few months and you're already doing all this process. Is really great. And actually we have a question from Sarah. She's asking you about the members. So do members of different departments at Nutracap make their own pipes, or does someone like you oversees what they are creating to make sure all the teams they are using the tool in a similar way?
So far, I'm the primary developer of the pipes other than Pipefy. So we haven't opened up administrative functions for development to any of our end users yet.
Great. I do have a few questions, but I know that Camila and Breno have some questions too, so I will pass to them.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, we had one really good question in here in the chat. I'm gonna take and I'm gonna cover with you. It's who will be the ideal person to implement different processes within my organization, and do we have to hire someone, some specialist for working on the implementation training side? And I'm gonna give my viewpoint in here, Scott, and I'm pretty sure that you have your viewpoint as well. So Pipefy is a no-code platform, so we don't need to hire someone to implement your processes within Pipefy. So it's pretty easy for you to do so. And we have even a certification program, a certification path that you can enroll in order for you to get this knowledge, this deep knowledge about our tool. And besides that as well, we have the in-app chat, so we can reach out to our support team to support you, even in commercial side, for example, but even while dealing with this modeling processes as well. So the ideal person for me, in my viewpoint, for you to just give to this role to implement the processes and so on, is someone who really knows the SEs of the process and the to be that you wanna that this process to be. So if once we have this champion that we call this person that deeply knows the process and how the process should run, so this person will be the ideal person for you to grab and certify this person in order for us to have these processes implemented into your organization. And I guess that's pretty much it. And Scott, I guess that you can even share your thoughts on that as well, if you want to share a little bit about your experience with us.
Sure. I was actually I was surprised when I was told that, hey, Scott, you'll be leading the implementation and the development of the pipes. And I was just having a conversation with someone earlier today that, and it kind of lends to a training background for a developer or a curriculum developer for me, and that I'm used to pulling processes, developing processes, and also I'm used to extracting processes from end users, from SMEs. So I've been doing that a lot, but I think that was a lot of the skill set that I leveraged. And previously, I've done a lot of e-learning development. So I'm familiar with Adobe Captivate, almost to an expert level, I would guess. But so if-then statements, conditional statements, things like that, I'm used to using. And, I have to say, just the interface of Pipefy, made it easy to develop too. And then just having the support, of Breno and the other developers there, I think helped me be able to develop the software that quickly. So no, I don't think you need to hire a developer. And then just in my experience only, I think someone maybe with a curriculum design and instructional design background could fit the role pretty well.
Yeah, and just to cover as well, still on this question, Vijay, and if you want as well, I can even provide you some collaterals for you to train your team as well. So this is how we are dealing even with Nutracap, for example. Scott already has this background of training, and so he is really very good at doing this. But if you need our support as well to provide you some collaterals for you to train your team, besides having those processes models, so just let me know, reach out to me, and I'm going to be able to provide you those collaterals as well. Thank you, Scott, for answering as well.
Nice. I have a question as well. So Scott, you presented a lot of things to us today, and I'm really glad to see that you have all this process going on Pipefy. And I wonder, do you see any other process inside Pipefy that you imagine it could run really well?
Yeah, I was just telling Brino, I actually have 4 that I haven't even started yet. So I can easily see us adding probably 10 to 15 more processes, just filling in the gaps that we have. And I think we've proven, you know, the effectiveness of Pipefy, that it can work in the production environment. So now that we're, you know, going into that route, that's the direction that we're going to, is getting Pipefy involved in more of the core business operations of production within our company.
Great, thank you.
I have one as well, Scott. So you mentioned that Nutracap was looking for a platform to organize the process that you already have. And what was the game changer that made you guys choose Pipefy?
I think it was a combination of things, but one is just the interface itself. It seemed friendly, it seemed intuitive. And then when we started asking the one-off questions, like, can we have a customer fill out a form that's not a member of the pipe? We would get answers like, yes. And then when we would ask questions about integration, you know, you would answer yes. So at the end of our review of the other vendors, you know, like I said, there was, I think, 3 that were left. And you had more yeses in the column for extras. And then after we had the, you know, a couple of meetings with Brino, and then there was even another person we met with before Brino, I think we were just most comfortable going with Pipefy.
Great, great. Thank you very much. Breno, do you have more questions?
We've got one more question in here.
Yeah.
From Vijay Ananda as well. Let me just read out in here. What if we want to create a pipe that connected multiple departments and stakeholders for a particular process? We have this example with Scott, for example, right, Scott? Even for this SOPS process, I guess. And just completing here, obviously, a person will be in a central place to handle it, probably IT, admin, or someone else other than the individual department heads. Okay, if that is related to how to connect, if we have this capability to connect the process by Vijay, we can do that, okay? So we have this feature inside Pipefy for us to connect different pipes or processes that we have inside the organization. And so this is one viewpoint related to that. So we are totally capable to perform those connections and create the business rules over those connections. So once a card is finished in one pipe, I want to create a new connected card in the other pipe and proceed with this process in this other pipe. So this is this viewpoint regarding modeling process and so on. But if you're asking about who I should provide those certification and so on, still I think, and we strongly think that the person who's gonna be in charge of that is the person who knows really the process end to end, you know. So by grabbing this person, you're gonna have those processes totally connected and up and running as soon as possible, and with all the business rules that you wanna have inside this organization within these processes as well.
Great, Bre. Thanks a lot. Scott, I don't know if you want to add something more in your presentation or some consideration.
No, I would just like to thank you guys for asking me to do this, and thanks everyone that dialed in.
Thank you. Yeah, we
Thank
still
you,
have a
Scott.
few minutes, so if you
Okay.
guys have more questions, you can send on the chat or even use the community to send the questions. So you're more than invite to be part of community. And thank you again, Camila, Breno, Bear, it's here as well, and Scott for being here today. And the record of the event is going to be in the community, so you can check and even share with your colleagues. Scott, thank you a lot for being here today. Thanks a million for your time. And I know that Camila and Breno also want to thank you for your time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much, Scott. We have a long path ahead still by using Pipefy and learning and implementing new integrations and so on. So I'm really glad that we had this time together, and count on me for anything you need as well.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thank you,
Thank
Scott.
you, Scott.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thanks. And I see you next month for the next community event. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye,
Bye.
team.
Bye,
Have a
guys.
great day.
Bye.
Take care.